again, getting back to the talks in Saudi Arabia, if there is a workable peace agreement to be had, that's good. But I do think even the fact that these talks are happening between the United States and Russia, that is a victory for Putin. We have to understand that. Putin's vision for Russia's role and for the, the eventual dispensation for Ukraine.
I hate this. I don't like this narrative. Like, oh, we're rewarding Putin. We're rewarding Putin. No, man. Like this is the same shit that like Israel says. We're rewarding Hamas if we do a ceasefire. Or I guess if from the pro-Palestinian perspective, it would be like, oh, we're rewarding Israel if we do a ceasefire. Like, no, just stop. Just stop the conflict, please. What do you mean rewarding a person? You can't use morality to change the field of battle. It literally doesn't work. I want it to work, but it doesn't work that way. But your whole solution seems very short-sighted. I can agree that Ukrainians deserve no more fighting, but what does that do when Russia just knows they can go in anywhere? Honest question. It's a great question, and I don't know what the answer to that question is. I genuinely don't know, okay? Russia invading Ukraine has already justified the existence of NATO for many other regional partners, including the two nations that now joined NATO. If I'm gonna close my eyes and think like how this unfolded this way, I think that Vladimir Putin is smarter than Donald Trump. And as a person that is smarter than Donald Trump, that knows that Donald Trump reveres him to a certain degree, he used that influence he has over Donald Trump to his advantage by actively making him undermine Ukraine. Donald Trump was already ready to undermine Ukraine because there is a lot of appetite within the American Republican population in terms of cutting aside any sort of allegiance or loyalty that Americans have to Ukraine. And that's the reason why Zelensky is not a part of these talks, because at the end of the day, you're the United States of America. What do you mean Ukraine doesn't get a seat at the table? If you wanted to, you could have brought Zelensky there and put his nutsack on the table. Do you think Vladimir Putin would say no Zelensky if America truly wished for Zelensky to be at the table? That's what I think. I think that Vladimir Putin wanted to optically over Zelensky to potentially further destabilize Ukrainian politics, to make Ukrainians, by force, understand the reality that they have no say in this process. And Donald Trump, being someone who is persuadable, especially by the likes of someone like Vladimir Putin, played ball, thinking that he was going to get a great deal out of this. That's what I think. Because whether Zelensky is at this table or Zelensky is not at this table does not change the dynamic of this back and forth, okay? It's still very much in the hands of the United States of America to decide how this is going to happen. Russia and the United States are the primary parties here, okay? Because no matter how much liberals yell at me for saying this, it is still very much a proxy war. And it's not just me saying that. Whenever the likes of Senator Blumenthal or Liz Warren or Lindsey Graham or numerous other foreign policy liberals and Republicans both repeat the reality that this was a fantastic bargain for us because for 5% of our military budget, we were able to undermine a foreign adversary's military by 50%. I'd say that's a great deal, especially when you consider that not a single American soldier had to die in the process. They mean it. They mean that shit. The American military-industrial complex was able to offload a lot of weapons in the process. American businesses were able to take advantage of the fire sale that took place inside of Ukraine. And they will continue to gut Ukraine for all that remains in this process. They took the maximum advantage. America won out like a bandit from Vladimir Putin's mistake. They, one, beefed up loyalties for NATO, justified the existence of NATO, brought two other nations into NATO. Number two, were able to cut off Europeans from utilizing Russian gas, undermining their economy, just completely destabilizing them without any care whatsoever, and then forcing their hand to purchase American gas. And of course, last but not least, most significantly, they were able to sell offshore a bunch of weapons. That's it. America is the party that makes out like a bandit here, okay? Far more than Russia did. Having said that, if you think that like whether Zelensky is at this table or not changes the dynamic of the back and forth, you're wrong. This was still always going to be whatever America says goes. But I do think the reason why they cut Zelensky out of this equation was to give a symbolic W to Vladimir Putin. And Vladimir Putin, one, was able to very successfully create pro-Russia sentiment amongst the dumbest of American hogs who, for their entire lives, despised Russia and the red commies, only to get brain broken by one Telegram group and develop loyalties for Russia somehow. But also, they were able to take advantage of the lack of appetite many Americans have due to their selfishness in many instances to constant war that's happening and constant destabilization that's happening. They were able to also create a massive inflation crisis in the United States of America through OPEC Plus, which the American oil manufacturers, oil producers also played ball with because, as they openly stated time and time again, that they had no interest in doing what was best for the American population, despite the billions of dollars in subsidies that they were receiving from the American government, and that OPEC Plus's limitations on oil barrels was actually to their benefit. And it really was to their benefit. They made more money in this process. So they were able to destabilize America and create a lot of anger and resentment towards Biden, create a lot of, understandably, which Biden did to himself as well, because he's just an incompetent cadaver. They were then also simultaneously able to basically get Donald Trump to play ball this way and even symbolically over Ukraine, because America was always over Ukraine. But now it's in broad daylight. Bro, the Russian diplomat team is stacked and the American one is a real estate developer. That's fucking Steve Witkoff. Put some respect on his goddamn name. He is the great peacekeeper, okay? Are you kidding me? That's Steve Witkoff, Donald Trump's golfing partner, okay? Do you understand who you're talking about? That's my goat right there. Yeah, the Witkoff factor, as they're calling it. Yeah, Vladimir Putin's probably never been so scared and also turned on at the same time until he sat across the table from American real estate developer and Donald Trump golfing buddy Steve Witkoff. Look at Lavrov. He's shaking in his boots. He does not know the brilliant mind of Steve Witkoff. He will learn.
Is that this is something to be worked out between Russia and the United States, between these two great powers. He sees Russia as a rising force. Again, he's trying to kind of reestablish Russia as a great empire, a great force in global affairs. And his vision of how global affairs should work is that the great powers make decisions and the lesser powers just have to deal with it. Their concerns are of very little concern. And unfortunately, I think that is something we've seen from the Trump administration too, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's Gaza. It's that the powerful make decisions and the weak just deal with it. I think
that is what it is. That's what America's always done. I'm sorry, Matt Duss. What the kind of nonsensical world are you existing in at the Center for International Policy, or CIP, which is a pretty good think tank, by the way, overall. But like what? That is the case. That's just the case. What do you mean? Look at the Kurds. Look at everywhere that we have had conditional allegiances with, okay? I mean, there's a reason why this exists, okay? Gaddafi went from foe to ally. America's lost ally. Brave anti-Soviet warrior fighting for liberation. Manuel Noriega, from U.S. friend to foe. Anti-Soviet warrior puts his army on the road to peace. Osama bin Laden. Exclusive. CIA files prove America helped Saddam as he gassed Iran. When haven't we done this? How many times have we done this? And people still go, oh, I don't understand. I thought America was the most moral nation. What the fuck's happening? I thought we had moral ambitions in Ukraine. This is so shocking to me. What are you, a fucking baby? Are you a child? Do you have a baby brain? When has America been a good friend? Wait 10 more years to see what happens to the Zelensky of Syria, okay? If we make it out alive of the first Trump regime, okay? Wait till you see what they got in store for Mr. Former Al-Qaeda. So strange how this always happens, dude. How does this always happen? The worst aspect of this is that the worse conditions get for American empire, the more like economic allies we're gonna lash out at as we just die out, you know. But the death of an empire doesn't happen overnight, and it certainly doesn't happen quietly. I really did think the one guy we could put on this list was maybe Benjamin Netanyahu, but he is held strong, baby. Holy shit.